I got some more MyTeam information. Dynamic ratings cards are no more. Apparently, they really messed with 2K's ability to drop moments cards correctly because they kind of clashed. Dynamic ratings were supposed to be moments. They were supposed to go up and down throughout the season, and it was based on a player's performance. And moments cards were basically the same thing, because if a player had an explosive game, he dropped 30, 40, 50 points. If he did something crazy like that, then we were expecting a moments card to celebrate that player with increased ratings. Now that 2K has gotten rid of dynamic ratings, they're planning on dropping moments cards within 2 hours of the player's performance. So for instance, let's say Damian Lillard goes off, he drops 50 points. 2 hours after he drops 50 points, 2K wants to drop a moments card celebrating that performance. It'll be a card that has boosted ratings from the other tier card that's already in the game, so a much better version, maybe slightly better. And this might allow 2K to release more than one moments card, because that was another problem. One reason why they wouldn't drop moments cards is because they felt like that player might have a similar performance later in the year, and then they couldn't reward him with a card then. So a lot of times they were trying to save that player for later, hoping they go off again. But maybe now, with this new system, no more dynamic ratings, they'll be able to drop multiple cards. So 2K's goal is to drop new cards within 2 hours of the performance. Maybe they don't do that every single time, but that is their goal. That's what they're planning to do. So we'll see what happens with that. But I'm actually glad they're getting rid of dynamic ratings. I thought they were completely useless. I myself never really used those cards. I might have used one. There was a time when I used Kawhi Leonard. He had a good dynamic ratings card, but really you could have just dropped a moments that was better and we would have been happy with that. I feel like it was useless. So now what else is new is that 2K is going to start off the year by dropping lower rated versions of superstars, and they're going to fall into the sapphire tier. So guys like LeBron James, Steph Curry, they're probably going to be rated at the start of the game somewhere in the 80s possibly. I mean, the ratings haven't quite been confirmed yet. We don't know. But that leaves them room as the year goes on to release more editions of players and boost their ratings. And this is exactly what everybody's been asking for, because a lot of times we'll get Throwback Thursday players that come out later in the year and their ratings are actually lower than versions that are already in the game. And it didn't make sense when they would have a theme come out and it's the same thing. The ratings sometimes are lower, they're not increasing. So now, with them having more tiers, remember all the tiers? They have bronze, silver, gold, emerald, sapphire, ruby. They have all these different versions. And the reason they did it this way is so that they can gradually increase the talent of all the players in the game. And all of these different tiers, the rubies, the sapphires, the diamonds, they have overall attribute ranges. So a diamond card is now 93 overall or higher, and pink diamond cards are 99 overall. Very interesting. So we don't really know yet what all the other ratings are going to be, like sapphire. We don't know what range that's in, ruby, emerald. We don't quite know all those yet, but that's why there's so many different tiers, because whatever overall the player falls into, then that's the kind of card that he's going to get. Another change has to do with different versions of players. For legends and throwback players, instead of saying this is the 08 Paul Pierce, they're going to say this is the Celtics Paul Pierce, or this is the Clippers Paul Pierce, or the Wizards Paul Pierce. Or for instance, maybe for some legends, you might have the Golden State Warriors version of Tim Hardaway, or you might have the Miami Heat version of Tim Hardaway, or you might have the Shaq when he was on the Orlando Magic, or the Lakers Shaq, or the Miami Heat Shaq. For LeBron James, you might have the Cavs before the Heat, then you might have the Heat LeBron James. So they're changing it. Instead of it just being a year that the player performed, it's going to be over a course of years when he was on a specific team. So all of these different additions won't just be based on 1 year of playing. It'll be based on a collection of years when they were on certain teams. So that's pretty interesting. Now we have more information on dynamic duos. If you have a dynamic duo on your team, both of those players will get a ratings increase. And dynamic duos can be determined in many different ways. The first way could be as simple as these two players, they play together in real life, like Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. They're both on the Warriors, so they have some chemistry, they're going to get a boost. But there's also other ways There could be an international connection, like Andrew Bogut and Patty Mills. They play for the Australian team, so if you get both of those players, they're gonna have a boost. There could be friendship boost. There could be a legend that is friends with a current player and they have a dynamic duo. Or it could just be players that are friends and have a dynamic duo. Maybe this guy is on Nike, he has Nike shoes and he has Nike shoes. Or maybe these are two Adidas athletes. Maybe these are two Under Armour athletes. They thought of a lot of different ways to make the dynamic duos work. And this is really interesting. It's more than just these two guys played on the same team together. There could be a college connection. There could be a hometown connection. There's so many different ways that there could be a dynamic duo connection. There was even an example of Joel Embiid and Blake Griffin having a connection because they both got injured their rookie season. 2K really thought about all the different ways that players could be related and have duos, and this is simply amazing. Now, another thing that's interesting is that Joel Embiid, his dynamic duo is going to be Blake Griffin, but if you have Blake Griffin, he might have different dynamic duos with other players. So this is just, you really have to think about this and find the connection. This is going to be a fun year. I'm excited for this. There's also a restriction. You can have as many dynamic duos as you want on a team, but only one can be active at a time. So I guess we get to decide who we want to be active. That's a good balancing feature. Now, free agent cards, we already discussed. You get to pick one of 5 to start your team, but after you win your first game, you get to pick another one to go on your team, another free agent card. So you're going to be starting off with 2 pretty good cards. And remember, free agent cards are trial limited cards. You don't get to use them forever. Another great thing about free agent cards, you can use them for unlimited games if you play against a friend in a private match. It does not use contracts. Only if you're using it in the modes are you going to take a contract off of the player. The new road to the playoffs is interesting. You're going to start off in tier 1, and there's a certain amount of games that you need to advance to the next tier. But if you win even more, maybe a few games more, then you get to select a reward, which will be up to 3 cards that you can add to your team. So if you have a really good performance in tier 1, you take a card with you as you advance to the next tier. If you don't win enough games, then you can start all over again to try to get that tier reward. Now, when you finish MyTeam, let's say you get to the last tier, whatever it is, you have the option of prestiging. So you can do it all over again. You start right back down at tier 1 and you go through the ranks again, collecting more rewards along the way, leveling up all the way through the tiers, and then you can do it again and you can keep prestiging. As of now, nobody knows what happens when you prestige. Maybe the rewards get even better. It's not known yet, but we'll find out soon enough. But either way, this is just interesting. I'm very excited for that. Also, this is no longer called Road to the Playoffs. It's now just simply called MyTeam Online. 2K is planning on releasing 5 to 7 challenges a week, and they're going to be shorter quarters. So we don't have to play these long 6-minute quarter games. They're going to be a lot shorter, a lot more fun. And in previous videos, we talked about some of the things that'll happen in these challenges. Domination is back, and when you finish historic domination, you get to pick the player that you want. There's going to be a list of players, and you get to pick, and they're going to be diamond players. And a diamond player, remember, is 93 overall or higher. Another thing about the challenges, when you complete a challenge, you'll get a token. And if you get a certain amount of tokens, you can unlock prizes like players. Like it might be 10 tokens, you get a player. 5 tokens, you get a player. It's going to be different, so that hasn't been released yet. But this is also another way for us to earn players, earn MT. This is really nice. Collections have been improved. So now every team that you fill out the collection for, let's say you fill out the San Antonio Spurs or the Cleveland Cavaliers, you're going to get a player, and it's going to be a Sapphire player. So all 30 NBA teams are going to give you a player to add to your squad. I don't think these cards are going to be auctionable, because in order to fill out the historic version of that team, let's say the historic Cavs, you need that Sapphire player that you get from completing the current Cavs. So if you could auction that player, then people could unlock the historic without actually unlocking the current. So my guess is you probably cannot sell these Sapphire rewards, but we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. But the great news is that when you complete a historic collection, The reward is a diamond player. Diamond historic players. Wow, 2K is giving us a lot of ways to get historic players, but this is another question. Will that diamond historic player from the collection, will it be auctionable? Maybe not, but I don't know. I'm just guessing. Maybe you can't sell it, but if you could, that would help you build your MT, but they might not let you do that because then people could get these diamonds without unlocking. And I think 2K doesn't want you to be able to get this without unlocking it yourself. But once again, we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. Let me know what you think about all of this. Should these players be auctionable? There's a lot to discuss here with all the information dropping today. Crazy. Shoves them to the side. Touchdown. Get down to the ground, noobs. AP didn't even stumble. It was like he didn't even get touched. Every game he does something like this.